Does anyone have any questions?
So bedtime, and so my daughter is just started climbing out of the cot. Yeah. So we took off the door, so now she has to stay in bed and we have to tell her to stay in bed. So this is more of a discipline question, I guess. Yeah. But it's also resilience, because she just does, and she's at that age where she's just almost 2, so she's coming on tantrum sort of age. Is that the sort of stress, to leave her in a room? Because if we leave the door a little bit open, she's just out there, and she's numb, I want food, or like, I think I'm sick, or like, she's just got all the manipulating, all the techniques. So I'm just wondering, like, is that like, what about, closing the door? That sort of sounds like that bad stress that you're sort of talking about, or like just letting her cry it out in there. And what would you suggest?
I think if she's distressed, then it's better to be able to position yourself as being her comforter. So leaving children in a position where you're not providing their need for comfort is generally not ideal. What I generally suggest in situations like that, where you're expecting her to sort of tackle something in a new way, is provide opportunities through the day when she's alert, she's connected with you, she's playing, because they're actually the times that she learns best. And then provide her with lots of opportunities to practice what it is that you're expecting of her. So if that's the case, and you're hoping that she'll be able to stay in a room for the night, which is not unreasonable given her age, although you'll set her up for success knowing that you can come in and check on her and make sure she's going okay, if that's what she needs from you. What I'd suggest is during the day, grabbing, some figures, some toy figures, or, even making your own. You can make your own out of toilet rolls, whatever it is, and setting up a practice type situation in her play. So letting her know, so from tonight, what we're going to do is this, and you can show her in your play, and then you can practice that. You can do role plays, the same sort of thing. You can actually practice during the day. Okay, so remember what we're going to do tonight. Okay, so you go into bed, and I'll do this. I'll say goodnight to you in this way, and then we're going to close the door, and what are you going to do? Okay, excellent, let's have a practice now. Because what we know is that children learn best when they're feeling playful, feeling connected. So if you can practice and encourage her to learn what's expected of her at those times, you're going to set her up more for success than responding to the situation in a way that she finds distressing, if that makes sense. Yeah. The thing I've done with my kids too is just to let them know that you're going to keep coming back and checking on them. And the first few times you do this, you check on them at such a ridiculously frequent interval that you go out and you turn around, you come back in and say, see, this is me checking on you. I told you I'd check on you. Okay, let's do it again. You do your thing, I'll come back and check on you, and then you do the same thing. So crazy, really frequent at the start, and then you just increase your intervals. But that is just reassuring for her to know that she doesn't have to wait too long for you to be there, and she can maintain what she's supposed to be doing in that period of time. Yeah. Otherwise it goes on, and bedtime becomes a dreaded sort of time, knowing that you're not going to be available to her anymore. Tricky though. I remember it well. Any other questions?
Yeah, I've got a little 4-year-old.
Yeah.
4 going on 14.
Yeah.
She has discovered a great strategy when we try to give her options for things. If we're asking her, well, what's some options of things you could do? She's figured out that if she says, I don't know, it's a great way of trying to get her off the hook. Mm-hmm. I mean, how would you recommend we push past that? Because obviously if we say, what's some options to respond to the situation? She just persists with, I don't know.
Yep.
We're kind of like, okay.
So in terms of when you're trying to encourage problem solving, is that when you...
I think particularly in highly stressful situations when she's upset about something, we're trying to sort of suggest, get her to come up with options of things she can do to get out of that situation.
Yeah. So a couple of things. The first one is that kids... your brain works in a different way when you're upset. So different brain pathways are activated when you're really upset, and they're not the ones that are responsible for language and logic and problem solving. So it's always really helpful when your child is upset to help them calm down first, and when they're calm, then you do the whole, okay, so what options do you have? Because if you try, we've all been there as parents, you try to talk to your kids when they're really upset, or explain why they needn't be upset, or try to talk to them about their options, and it just doesn't go in when they're really upset or overwhelmed. So it's really important to get the order right. So you help children calm down first, and then when they're calm, And you might find that just doing that is more successful. So come and have a cuddle. I'll help you calm down first. You're obviously feeling really upset. And then when they're calm, okay, darling, what do you think your options are now? Now that you're feeling a bit better and you're thinking more clearly, I wonder if you can come up with a couple of options that might make this situation a little better. So you might find that helpful. The other thing is to keep it playful if they're still struggling. So you can say, okay, no worries, well, I'll see if I can come up with one. And then you can come up with one that's ridiculous, that's so playful and so absurd that it sort of takes the pressure off and makes it less of a stress-inducing situation. Because if you've been able to come up with something so absurd, then it mustn't be too serious a situation. And then it might also make her realise, anything I come up with is likely to be better than Dad's suggestion, because that was ridiculous. So it sort of just... but it just reduces the pressure on that situation. So you might find that helpful, yeah.
What would you recommend for a 5-year-old who takes an hour and a half to eat a bowl of rice bubbles and half an hour to put their shoes on?
Yeah.
You're trying to get out the door and you don't want to get up before 4 a.m.
Yeah.
How do you not bring the stress into that
Yeah.
situation?
I think one of the things I found really helpful in that morning rush is staying with my kids along the way. What I found when I'm trying to get ready separately from them is when I try and get them up, send them down for breakfast, and then I go and get dressed or have a shower or get ready for the day, is they generally come up with 101 reasons to seek me out and ask so many questions of me that really don't need to be asked in that moment. What happens to us when we die? All sorts of things come up at that moment where you wish they would just focus on the task. What I've found is actually more helpful is recognising that that's actually the time that they want to bank a bit of connection with me, and likewise your children with you. That's their time to be with you, because they know that you're setting off on your path to work. They're setting off on their own adventures and they won't get to reconnect with you until the end of the day. It's your time to connect with them. So what I found is far more successful in the morning is I get up about 20 minutes before them, I get myself ready for the day, and then I sit and have breakfast with them. And then I go to the bathroom with them, and we're all doing our tasks together, and they can sort of pace it with you because they know that you're soon going to be finishing up with breakfast and going to the bathroom, and so they're going to want to come too. I found that a lot more helpful with my children, just getting ready together. It might not be the answer, but it certainly helped.
Most of what we know about how children learn language comes from studies in which the researchers observed children talking with adults in a lot of different situations. So, for example, this book, which is called Beginning Literacy with Language.